Stick it out. You're going to find out that you actually really like doing this. So, the work that I do is not as simple as, you know, something that you already kind of know how to do and you're just trying to improve on it. It's something totally different. It's something where you have to familiarize yourself with the weight of a rope, the length of a rope, the use of the rope, the handling of the rope, the communication necessary through the rope. There's so much to learn just with the rope itself. Then how to use your body, how to use your intention, how to use your gas, how to use your pressure. There's so many things to learn that it's unrealistic for anybody to think in the first several sessions that they're going to have the result that makes them go, oh, this is cool. But what's cool about that for me is that when I do have people that stick it out, that push through those moments of insecurity, push through those moments of self-doubt, and maybe this isn't for me, or I just can't do this, or I don't really know if this matters to me as much as I thought it would, or whatever. When people push through those experiences, people push through those moments, and they stick it out, those are the best experiences for me, because I'll see the first true conversation. I'll see somebody have the dance, and it's awesome for me. It's just a matter of getting people to not want to quit, to not want to quit. So I have a quick story. I had a student who is a friend first, and that was the first time I've ever had a student a friend first. So there was a sensitivity to the relationship that came into consideration when correcting anything, right? There was more consideration taken versus just saying, how do you expect to get results if you're doing it that way, right? Like, I'm not that mean either, but there's more of that approach with somebody that has come to me as a student first and became my friend later, which usually happens. So I must not be that mean, but for some reason, having a friend first made it a lot more challenging. And challenging to the point to where I was allowing things to become stale. I was allowing things to not progress for fear of kind of disciplining my friend. So I reached out to him and said, look, I don't know that I'm going to be the right teacher for you, because I don't feel comfortable being mean to you, like, say, a coach to, a high school kid. I feel like I have to be careful not to damage our relationship, and it's too hard for me. Like, I was basically quitting because of me. It's too hard for me. And we did kind of agree we were going to quit. And then one day we were talking, just because we're, like I said, we're friends outside of the situation, and it was agreed on that we're going to try it. We're going to give it a try. I said, all right. I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, that hour, because I was so torn up about it, I was actually reaching out to my other students saying, how do you handle, like, the time when I'm not really caring if I hurt your feelings, because it's important for the horse that you get this. Not, I could care less if you get it. It's important for the horse. And if you've hired me to be an advocate for your horse and to help your horse have an owner that can speak to him, then that. So I asked a couple people, and they're like, that hour is my hour with my trainer, and I don't see that hour as being damaging to my friendship. And I'm like, well, that's cool. It's cool that there's, like, I understand that people have to, disassociate the friendship from that part. So I mentioned that to him and said, look, I've asked, like, how are people getting through this? And so we agreed, and so the next session that I went to, I basically kind of ended a few things that I should have corrected a time ago, and um, I had to kind of keep mentioning it, which is fine. Like, that's how that works. Is you know, I always say you can't fix you. You can't fix your habits until you catch yourself doing your habit. Um, so like I can tell you over and over and over again, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and in an instant you're gonna do it again because it's a habit. It's just what you automatically do. You don't even pay attention to the fact that you're doing it. So until you catch yourself doing it, I can talk till I'm blue in the face and you're not going to change it. Once he started catching himself doing the thing that I was telling him to stop doing, all of a sudden there was this like change. The horse had his ears on him instead of his ears pinned. The horse was like, well, hello, like, you know, welcome to the party. And respond responded incredibly, appropriately, effectively. All of it was just awesome. And the last exercise that we did, we do a lot of work with like cones and you know, like puzzle solving. And the last puzzle that we did, the last round of it, I stood there in awe because I watched a dance. I watched flow. There was no awkwardness. There was no lack of understanding. I saw command, meaning, and I don't mean command, I mean, I saw command in his decision to how he was going to orchestrate this. I saw orchestration. I saw response from the horse, and I saw a dance. Well, the next day, I saw him at my workplace, and I had joked with the young lady who runs that office that I had to yell at him because he was in there, and I'm like, I had to yell at him yesterday, you know, and I was saying it kind of in a fun way because I know I didn't really go after him, and she's like, oh yeah, and he goes something along the line like it was nothing, or she, you know, she's all bark or something like that. Anyway, so, but the cool part was that he went on to explain that he had gone into his house after I left and said to his wife, Max is amazing or awesome. Like whatever adjective he used was there was a pause for dramatic effect, and you know, he just blew up in joy. And then he went on to say that, you know, there was such a flow. And then he goes, and I looked like Kirsten, which is like a huge compliment to me because, you know, like often I hear, well, you make it look so easy. I'm not doing anything special other than I'm being clear. I'm using the language that your horse knows. I'm being clear. Horses often, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, that horses often attach themselves to me quite quickly because um, I'm speaking their language. I'm using their cues, their social cues. I'm doing things that they understand. Um, and I always equate it with being somebody, like being the American that goes to France and you don't speak French. And all of a sudden you meet, you know, an American, and it's like your new best friend, right? Because you finally have somebody you can talk to. Like, you're in a foreign land and you're not understanding, and people are pointing and being maybe even impatient with you for not understanding why they're pointing. And you finally meet somebody that you can communicate with. That's somebody you want to spend time with. It's somebody that, even if it's not even somebody that you otherwise care for, like if you otherwise wouldn't get along with this person in a otherwise group situation, that day, that's your new best friend. Um, I had another woman tell me that she, after the first session with her, we worked, I think, with 2 horses. And after I left, I think she told me it was either after I left or the first time she tried by herself to practice. She says, um, sorry, I'm being distracted by some things. She says, I'll admit, I wasn't sure this was for me, and I'm like, man, it's just, if I could just convince people to stick it through. This young lady, I can honestly tell you, she's not interested in becoming an instructor herself. But I approached her and said, look, you have a very natural ability that you could do something with this if you wanted to. And she's not interested. She's like me. She doesn't want to do people. um, I love when it starts to make sense. I love watching. I have one student who I set up extra hard puzzles because I run out of puzzles by the time the session's over. I'm like, all right, I can't think of anything else to set up here. So I try to make them extra hard because otherwise we're breezing through this puzzle and then we're breezing through that puzzle. She has a horse. She has good horses for learning because they're kind of in slow motion. She has one that's very emotional and has an attitude sometimes, and then she has another one that's like in slow motion. But his slow motion can bring calm to the energy that bubbles up when it doesn't flow quickly for you. And he's a good horse, and she's really gotten there with being able to, like, now I start to hear her say, oh, I feel it, like I know what I just said, and I felt like I knew what I was telling him to do, and it's fun. It's fun. And then another student I have here, she'll say, she'll have worked on something and it's obvious, and I'll be impressed. I try to be as complimentary as I can be, as well as strict as I have to be, because, like, again, I'm here for your horse, not for the people. But the horse was doing something that it was absolutely struggling with at one point, and I watched and I was like, wow, like she knows her job. So it was a leading thing. The horse has had a problem with leading, and she's young, she's a yearling, and she was walking around actually completely unfocused on the horse's job, and was just leading the horse, like she went to pick up cones and she went to take cones somewhere else, and the horse led in perfect position the whole time, not at all like she had to be told what to do. She did it like she just knew that was her job. Like she was tethered to Heather. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch and to see this horse. There was no worry in the horse's eye that she's not doing it right. There's no worry in the horse's eye. There's no mischief in the horse's eye, because that was another issue we have with this little horse. There was absolute just compliance and understanding and just a naturalness, like a mommy on a mom's, a baby, a foal on a mom's shoulder. It was just the natural, and that's what this leading exercise is supposed to produce. But to see it in the horse was awesome. And that's not something that could have happened without her finding the time to do it together with her horse. So it's just fun. It's fun seeing progress. It's fun seeing those moments when the person is feeling rewarded by the time that they're investing doing this. That's, to me, then I know we can go somewhere. Then you're in it for life, right? But it's a matter of just, God, if I could just tell people right from the get-go, this is going to be boring as hell for the first 2 months, probably. But there's going to be a moment where you're going to be like, wow, okay. I know I asked for that, and I know that horse standing at the end of the line had no idea what I was going to ask him to do until I asked him to do it. And he did it exactly how I asked him to do it. Cool. And I don't mean stuff like go in the stall. I mean, like, we're doing cool, like stand on a mounting block and have the horse side pass over that pole and figure eight around those cones, and then side pass over that pole, and then come in and spin around and over to the mounting block. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying, like, your horse led from the barn to the gate exercises. Like, we've done that because we have a yearling that we're working with, but um, I'm talking like true. Your horse has no idea. Your horse could not possibly know what you want doing a puzzle. You have to believe in yourself when you see that you asked your horse to do that, and your horse said, sure, and what next? Sure, and what next? That's so cool. So cool. When that clicks, it's cool. Anyway, I gotta go. Sorry about a couple times I got a little distracted by ththings that were happening outside of your view. And have a great day.